my friends say, girl, you better take care, 'cause that man is trouble, you best beware. And though deep down I know I might be headed for teardrops, now that you got me started, I just can't stop. No, no, 'cause I love you, baby.
Hi guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the final video in my wedding series. If you are new here, I have been vlogging and making videos about the wedding planning process over the past 2 years or so now. I have a full wedding series on my channel, starting from when we got engaged to finding a venue to the wedding day and then the honeymoon. And it's finally all come to an end, so I thought the perfect way to end off this series was to do a wedding Q&A. We're gonna be talking about everything, mainly wedding planning, but also a little bit of honeymoon, some finances. I put up a question box on my Instagram story and I got a ton of questions. I wrote them all down on my laptop, so I'm gonna be sitting here and going through all the questions. I got married a little bit over 3 months ago now, which is crazy. A lot has happened since the wedding. Life has not slowed down one bit since the wedding. I thought it would, but does life ever really slow down? I feel like it never truly slows down. You just always feel busy. The wedding was 3 months ago. I've gotten all my videos back, all my pictures back. I've really had time to sit and reflect on the wedding and wedding planning. So I felt like this was the perfect time for the Q&A to wrap up the series. A little bit about me, if you are new here, I would love if you stuck around and subscribed. I just have a lifestyle channel, so it's been taking you through my life for the past few years. I do a lot of vlogs, weeks in my life. I work a corporate job, but I like to live my life outside of work. So we talk fitness, fashion, finance, the 3 Fs. That's my channel right there for you. A little bit of everything, balancing it all. So make sure that you stick around and subscribe. Let's just hop right into it. I'm gonna answer all the questions for you. I did try to look through these and prep and reflect a little bit so that I could have some more complete answers for you, but some of these are just gonna be straight off the dome. The first question is, what was your wedding day timeline and would you have changed anything about it in hindsight? And honestly, no. I was really happy with my wedding day timeline. I've been in a ton of other weddings where I felt like we started so early in the morning, like 6 in the morning, and then you're going all day. And mine was not like that. So we started at 11 a.m. That's when we got to the venue. I had 3 different hair and makeup girls, which I think allowed our timeline to be shorter. That was something I was really glad that I paid for that extra stylist, because it just kind of allowed a little bit more breathing room in our morning timeline. So hair and makeup for all the girls and everybody started at 11:15. My photographer got there around 12 and she did, you know, all the detail shots, all the getting ready shots, all of that stuff. I did a first look with my dad at 3 o'clock. And then we did all of our bridal party photos before the ceremony. So I did all my photos with my bridesmaids before the ceremony. Me and Will did not do a first look, and I still felt like we had plenty of time throughout the rest of the day. So after my photos with my bridal party, my ceremony was at 4:30. Ceremony was pretty short, I'd say 20 minutes. 5 o'clock we did family photos and full bridal party photos with everybody. And then around 5:30 we did photos of just me and Will for about 20 minutes or so, and I felt like we had plenty of time. And then we actually got to go to our cocktail hour. So we went there around 5:45 and we got to be there not super long, for about 30 minutes or so. We had a pretty short morning. We didn't have to start too early. We skipped the first look, which I'm glad we did. I kind of wanted that traditional walking down the aisle moment, him seeing me for the first time. And we still got to go to our cocktail hour. Reception started at 6:20 and we went straight into, I did my first dance with Will, and then we went straight into dinner. So dinner was like 6:30 to 7:30, did cake cutting at 7:30, and then I did my special dances with my dad. I think maybe the only thing I wish we just went ahead and did those special dances at the beginning of the reception after me and Will did our first dance. I do kind of wish I just went ahead and did my dance with my dad and then him with his mom, because there was a lot of like, okay, now we sit down, now we're back up, now we sit down, now we're back up. So I do think I would have done all 3 of those dances back to back to back. The father, daughter, and mother, son dance were supposed to kind of open up the dance floor, but in hindsight, I would have just gotten them out of the way in the beginning of the reception. I feel like our timeline was really good, especially the first part of the day. I didn't feel rushed. And then I was really pleased that we got to go to our cocktail hour. So overall, pretty happy with it. I would maybe switch some things around, but timing wise, it all worked out great. How did you feel the day of the wedding? Different than expected. How did you keep calm the day of? Okay. Not to scare any of my other brides out there, I was a wreck the morning of my wedding. I'm not going to lie. I was so much more nervous than I thought I would be. It really didn't have anything to do with the marriage or will. I think it more just had to do with general anxiety of kind of having this big party and all these people coming in to celebrate us and traveling. I already get like that on a much smaller scale. If I'm gonna have, say, a pregame and have a bunch of people over at my apartment, I get that anxiety. So it was that on a million times more. And I don't want to scare any other brides because I do think that's something that's kind of personal to me. I've been in, like I said, a bunch of other weddings, and I've never seen a bride be as nervous and as much of a wreck as I was. And I was not expecting that. It was definitely different than I was expecting. The morning was rough in that sense. I was so nervous. It's cliche, but I swear the moment that I got out of the car at the end of my aisle and locked like tunnel vision in on Will, that all went away and I was like ready to go, ready to party. How did I handle it? I just took a ton of deep breaths. I tried to keep the environment very peaceful. I told everyone, I was like, I need like peace and silence, and I just took a lot of deep breaths and I knew I would get through it. The day will go on. You will get through it. You'll have all these beautiful memories and photos and everything to look back on. Just take it 1 hour at a time. You can get through it. I tried to stay busy. I tried to walk around the venue and I did get through it. But yeah, I was actually a wreck. So if you end up feeling that way, I think it's normal. It's a big event. It's a big day. Take deep breaths and just know that you will get through it. And this is one day that goes by so fast. So do your best to soak it in. I do wish I didn't spend as much time being a nervous wreck in the morning. I wish I kind of soaked it in a little bit more, but I was just so focused on getting through the morning and breathing. I probably didn't get to soak in the morning as much as I wish I did. So yeah, don't be like me. I had a lot of questions who asked me what was the best part, what was the favorite part of the day. My absolute favorite part for sure was the ceremony. I loved walking down the aisle, holding hands, looking into his eyes while we said our vows. It felt so special. My stepdad was our officiant and him officiating was so good and so special, and I just absolutely loved the ceremony. After the ceremony, when me and Will went back down the aisle, we got in the car again and they took us around the back and we just got to sit in the car, just me and him, for like 10-15 minutes. They brought us out the past appetizers on trays, they brought us cocktails, and we had rented this big Rolls Royce, so we were just sitting in the back of this big old Rolls Royce with food and cocktails, and we had just got married, and it was a really nice private 10-15 minutes after the ceremony, just to be like, we did it, we got through this. That was amazing. So yeah, probably the ceremony combined with that private 10-15 minutes afterwards was definitely my favorite part of the whole day. I mean, I think I did a good job remembering what the day was about. The day is about that ceremony and you becoming husband and wife. It's not really about the other stuff, the party. It really is about the ceremony, and that was by far my favorite part of the day. I had a few questions on our songs. What songs did we choose and how did I choose? So I'll go over some of the more kind of bigger songs. My bridal entrance, I did Enchanted, Taylor Swift. I was doing a violin and I wanted something that I thought would sound good on the violin. Honestly, I found that one on TikTok by looking up bridal entrance violin songs. I liked that one. That's what I chose. It didn't have any kind of special meaning. I just thought it was a beautiful song and I love Taylor Swift. Song for the recessional. So after we, you know, You May Kiss the Bride, we did Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Stevie Wonder. I felt like that was a good one for that. That one was a suggestion from my violinist. For our bridal party entrance, we had them enter as a group. I didn't really care that much about this entrance. Originally, I had the song Gimme Gimme Gimme. I had, again, found that on TikTok, but then last minute, they wanted to do the Whippin' Nay Nay. I was like, y'all do whatever you want to do. So we switched the song and they went in doing the Whippin' Nay Nay. You know, whatever they want to do is fine with me. Song for our first dance was, it's called Meanwhile in Carolina. It's actually a song that my friend had sent me maybe 2 years ago or so when me and Will were engaged. And I just feel like was the perfect song for us. It's about a little girl growing up in North Carolina and a boy growing up in East Tennessee, and, you know, just kind of growing up beside each other, having no idea they exist, and then they meet later on in life. And I just feel like it perfectly describes me and Will. So we love that song ever since she ever sent it to us, and we just thought it was the perfect song for our first dance because it literally describes our relationship. Song for father-daughter dance. I sent my dad a few options and he chose I Loved Her First by Heartland. Song for the cake cutting, we did Cut It by Young Dolph. It was kind of fun, a little bit more hype. I found that one on TikTok. Really liked that one. That was a fun kind of like hype song for cutting the cake. And then party starter song, I did Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. That's just one of my all-time favorite songs. I feel like it describes me. I don't know if that sounds right. I don't know. I just love that song. I feel like it's very much my vibe. I love a country vibe. That's what we did for our party starter. Last song we did Mr. Brightside. I just feel like it's a classic. Everyone knows it. Everyone likes it. I thought it was a fine last song. And then we actually did a private last dance. So we didn't do a grand exit or anything, but you know, they turned all the lights on and then said everyone get out, and we did a private last dance, which was another really special time in the day and in the night. For the private last dance, we did Forever and Ever Amen by Randy Travis. This song is special to us because there is a line in the song that says, time takes a toll on the body, makes all the young girls' hair turn gray, but honey, I don't care, I'm not in love with your hair. If it all fell out, I would love you anyway. Which, if you don't know, I have alopecia and have struggled with hair loss in the past, have lost all my hair before. I don't know. That song is just very sweet and means a lot to me. So that was our private last dance. The music was hard for me. I feel like I did pretty much a mix of finding stuff on TikTok and songs that were actually very sentimental and meant a lot to us. Do I have any wedding tips regarding catering? I would say, one, look at caterers that have done weddings that you've been to. If you're getting married like I was in my hometown where I have had that caterer's food before, that's a good way to find a good caterer. If you're not, then I would say definitely at least do a taste test if you can before booking. And then my other tip, and this is with all vendors, is email communication. I mean, it should be really, really good because that is important. If your caterer is not getting back to you within, I would say like 3 days, I would not work with them. That's kind of how I was with all my vendors. I expected a response within 3 days. Even if the response was, hey, I'm really busy right now, I'll get back to you in another couple days. Communication is a huge one for all your vendors. I had vendors who I chose not to work with because they couldn't respond to my emails. How am I gonna trust to work with them? Do you have a checklist that you followed? I do. I will link it down below. I kind of made it myself by looking at a ton of different checklists and making one that worked for me. I don't think every checklist is gonna be perfect. I think it's gonna be a little bit dependent on you and your vendors when things need to get done, but I will leave my checklist in the description box that you can have a copy of. It's what worked for me. You can edit it, add to it, whatever you need to do. Favorite part about wedding planning and the thick of it all and questioning it. That's understandable. Totally understandable. Wedding planning is really, really hard. It's a lot of big decisions that are very expensive. So it's stressful for so many different reasons. It affects your relationships with your friends, with your family. Wedding planning is tough. My favorite part of it was getting to be creative. I loved looking on Pinterest and getting ideas and ordering different things for the wedding. It was just really fun getting to create this custom day to me and my fiance. So I love being creative, and I just really tried to zone in on that the best you can. Zone in on the creativity and the joy that you will have on wedding day, even though I understand that it is stressful. It definitely is, which kind of leads me into my next question, which is wedding or eloping. I don't want the wedding stress. I will say I absolutely loved our wedding day. It was so special in so many ways, and I'm so glad that we had the big wedding. We have those memories to carry us through a lifetime. We have my favorite pictures ever from the wedding. We have my favorite video ever, our wedding day video from the wedding. And I think a huge thing that kind of made me want to have a wedding was, you know, they say the only time you'll ever have your friends and family all in the same room is your wedding and your funeral. And especially for us, I think that's true because our families live in separate states. We have friends all over the country now. And I really do think for our entire life, that wedding day is going to be the only day that everyone was in the same room to me, it was so worth it. But with that being said, I would never do it again. And I would not really wish the wedding planning process upon anybody. Granted, I do think I had an especially difficult one because my wedding venue went out of business and, you know, I had some issues with that. I think the first big decision that you make after you get engaged is what kind of wedding do I want? Do I want to elope with 10 people? Do I want to have a small wedding? Do I want to have a big wedding? That really is the first big decision. For me, I'm glad we did the bigger wedding. I think we maybe could have cut our guest list a little bit shorter, but at the end of the day, I'm glad we had all of our friends and family in one big room. I am really glad that we did it, but I would never want to do it again. That's for sure. So I definitely empathize with anyone who's going through wedding planning. I know it is really hard. It's really lonely. No one really gets it if they're not like actively going through it. If you don't think you can handle the stress and you just don't think you can get through that, then I would elope. But if you think you can push through the wedding stress, I would have the wedding. I just think it's worth it to have all your friends and family in one room like that. How did you prepare for actually being married? This is a great question. I honestly feel like a lot of the stuff that we did to prepare to get married, we did pretty early on in our relationship before getting engaged. I think the best way to prepare for being married is to have those hard, serious conversations on what the future should look like in your opinion. But those conversations need to be had before you even get engaged. I remember one night we sat on the couch and I Googled like conversations to have before getting married, and we just went through the list, and a lot of them we had already had the conversation. Some of them that come up, obviously finances. How do you feel about saving, spending? How much debt do you have? You need to know what's their income, what's their debt, you need to know all that stuff. How involved do you want each other's families to be? What are the boundaries with the families? Religious beliefs is an important conversation to have. Conversations on children, how you would raise children, how you would discipline children. Hard conversations and hard questions you need to have, ideally, in my opinion, before you get engaged. Say the question is, how many kids do you want? You need to kind of dig a little bit deeper than that. Okay, what if we're infertile? What do we do then? You need to have these like difficult conversations. What if we get in a ton of debt? What do we do then? Take those basic conversations and those basic questions and level them up a little bit is kind of what we did. I think just building that strong foundation of a relationship, being really open and clear about your goals in life, and having good communication. That's really what we did to prepare for marriage, which I just think really anyone in any kind of relationship should do those things to have a strong foundation and a strong relationship. Lots of questions on regrets. What would you have done differently in hindsight? So one thing I definitely would have done differently in hindsight is moved around in my dress a little bit more when I was trying it on. I did love my dress and I loved how it looked. However, it was very difficult to move around in. I realized the day of. It was really hard to walk in it. It was super heavy. So I really wanted that big ball gown look, but I kind of wish I found something a little bit lighter, honestly. I ended up changing into my party dress that I did not intend to change into until after cake cutting, because my dress was so big and so heavy that me and Will were like, there's no way I can do my first dance in this dress, because we had, you know, this choreographed first dance. I just realized in that moment, this is too heavy, too hard to walk in. There's no way I can dance in this. So I ended up changing into my party dress before our first dance, which was not the plan. So I think in hindsight, I probably would have moved around, walked a lot more in the dress when I was trying it on at the bridal shop. With that being said, even if you do not plan to change into a party dress, have a party dress on hand, because things happen, bustles break, things happen. So have a party dress on hand just in case. Because what if I just decided I'm gonna wear this dress all night and then didn't have a backup? I would have been so uncomfortable and just screwed. Another thing I will say is have a backup bridesmaid's dress if you possibly could. One of my bridesmaid's dresses, her dress busted. We did the best we could. We used a staple gun to staple the back together, but I kind of wish I had like a backup dress, one that would be like universally flattering, straight down black dress for someone to wear in case that happened, but I did not even think about that. So just a tip, I kind of wish I had like a backup bridesmaid's dress because her dress totally busted. My last thing, I do wish I got pictures with more people. I was so pulled in so many different directions that I do not have pretty much any photos with my guests. I have all of our family photos and photos with me and Will, but I don't have any photos with my guests. which I kind of regret that. I wish I did that thing where like the bride and groom sits on the dance floor and every table one at a time like gets up and goes and takes a picture with them. I wish I did something like that because I do not have any pictures with some of my best friends who were at our wedding. So that's probably a little bit of a regret, is just wishing somehow I got pictures with more guests. It is just pouring rain outside. My other regrets, I don't feel like are fair regrets because honestly they came down to budget. If I had a bigger budget, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I would have gone all out. I mean, once I was in it and decided I was having the bigger, more traditional wedding, I was in it. And I wanted to do so much more, but I was trying not to spend all of our life savings on this wedding. I don't want to say these are regrets because I'm glad I saved the money where I did. However, if I had a bigger budget, some things I would have done. I would have gotten a dance floor. I think it would have just made the pictures look better of the dancing, kind of having a distinct, you know, one of those checkered dance floors. I would have upgraded our lighting a little bit more, put some up lights all around, probably done some like LED lights again for the dance floor. They turned all the lights off and then it was just kind of dark. It was fine. If I had a bigger budget, I'm telling you, I would have gone all out. And the biggest one, my flowers. I saved myself thousands of dollars by doing my own flowers and renting some flowers. If I had a bigger budget, I would have done a florist and had big, beautiful arrangements everywhere. I would have had more detailed flowers, more detailed bouquet. I'm glad I didn't do it in the sense of saving money, but I do love flowers and I think it would have been really beautiful to have like some big, beautiful arrangements done professionally. What was the most worth it thing, most worth the splurge? I have a few. Like I mentioned earlier, pretty much anything that made our timeline and our day go smoother and allowed me to relax a little bit was worth the money, 100%. Some of those being hiring an extra hair and makeup person so that we could condense our morning timeline. Definitely worth it. I also did get a second shooter for my photographer, which I think again just allowed things to be more smooth. While my one photographer was taking our family photos, the second shooter was getting cocktail hour photos. So they could be in two places at one time, which I think allowed our timeline to work a lot more smooth. And then my day of coordinator, worth every penny plus some more. She was amazing. I was very hesitant to hire a planner or coordinator, but I had to for my venue because I was like, what a waste of money. I was so wrong about that. Absolutely not a waste of money. She was incredible, saw my vision, made the day run smoothly. She was worth every penny. So yeah, anything that allowed the day to go more smooth was worth it. And then I would also say anything that I splurged on solely for guest experience to me was worth it because I just wanted everyone to have a good time. So things like the welcome champagne, to me that was worth it. I loved seeing the pictures of everyone getting their champagne and arriving, and then the photo booth. I think that was worth it. It was fun, just kind of a little side quest for people to go on and go do. Basically anything to make my day go smoother, and then anything that kind of upgraded the experience for our guests, to me that was all worth it. Lots of questions on the DIYs. Best thing you DIY versus not worth it. Do you have any regrets, things you wish you bought? I would say DIY as much as you can. I don't really have any regrets with my DIYs. I would say start early. I mean, start 6 months out. Start early with the DIYs. You can do lots of little things. You can do your favors. That's what I did. I kind of started in the beginning and I DIY'd everything until I got tired of it. So I would say just do as much as you can in the beginning, start months out, and then when you get tired of it, because eventually you will, then you can kind of give up on the DIY. I had originally planned to DIY my table number, and then it was the month of the wedding and I did not want to do it anymore, so I just ordered some. I DIY'd until it wasn't fun to DIY anymore, basically. My hardest DIY was definitely my flowers. It was worth the thousands that we saved, but it was not easy. The day before, the day of our rehearsal dinner, we spent hours putting together the bouquets for the rehearsal dinner, and then we had to wrap up my bouquets, and it was not easy. If you have the budget for a florist, I say do it because it would take some time off you and some stress off of you. But if you want to save the money, the flowers are a big money saver. You got to balance what is worth it to you. My favorite DIY was anything that was personal. So our cocktail napkins, which had the bar we met on, our bar cups that had our dog and our cat on them. Pretty much anything that was personal to us was my favorite DIYs. I got a lot of compliments on those little details. I did the golden retriever wax seals on our menus. I had someone come up to me and be like, this detail is just so good. So any little detail that made it about me and my fiance was definitely my favorite DIYs to do. Flowers, not necessarily a personal detail, probably my least favorite DIY. Just because it was the hardest, it was the most work for sure. Okay, into my dress. Did you wear any special undergarments under your dress or stockings? No, I did not. My dress was really tight in the top. It was a corset. I didn't even have to wear a bra, so I had nothing on the top. And then it was a ball gown, so I didn't need any shapewear. I didn't need anything like that. It was very comfortable in that sense. So yeah, no, I just wore normal underwear and no bra. I was like birthday suit underneath my dress. Best thing you got from your registry, and can you do a video on your wedding registry? I won't do a whole video, but I will kind of go through definitely my favorite things that we got. We got a matching luggage set from Calpac. That was a really nice thing, just to have the matching luggage. We got dishes, plates, bowls. We already had a good set, but I only had 4 of each, so I asked for another 4 of everything, so now we have a set of 8. So I expanded our current set that we had. The biggest shock, I put this on the registry, absolutely not expecting to get this at all, was probably our KitchenAid mixer. It was kind of one of those more expensive gifts I put on there, like might as well, and someone got it for us. That was definitely shocking when that one came in the mail. Very, very exciting. I will link these things I'm mentioning down below for you. I got a Crate and Barrel serving set, which has been really useful. I'm using it all the time. It's like modular, you can kind of move things around. I love that serving set. Electric salt and pepper grinder. That's probably our most used registry item. We use it every single day. We love it. We also got a set of mixing bowls. I love them. They're rubber on the bottom so they don't slide around. They're like $30 off Amazon. Really nice. Another thing that we actually didn't put on our registry, but someone sent us as a wedding gift, was a Blackstone grill. That was a really nice surprise, and we use it almost every single day. Will grills out there all the time. So that was a really, really good one that we didn't originally ask for, but the guy who thought of that knew what he was doing. Lastly, we did have a honeymoon fund, which we put as our top choice, and I would say was our top choice. The honeymoon fund paid for about half of our honeymoon, which was very, very helpful. You know, you're already paying a lot for the wedding itself, so the honeymoon fund is very helpful in that sense. We had about 96 people coming to the wedding, like I said, and we had 35 gifts on the registry, all kind of ranging in prices, and then the honeymoon fund. So that's what we did. I really did try to prioritize that honeymoon fund, but I do love all the gifts that we got. I feel like I was just trying to kind of upgrade what we already had for the most part. So, you know, upgrade towels, upgrade your plates, all that kind of stuff. Just kind of level up going into your married life. Honeymoon questions. How long did you wait to go on your honeymoon? So we waited a month. We went 1 month and 3 days after our wedding. I think it was a really good timeline. We did it for a couple reasons. The first one being we had another wedding 2 weeks after ours that we were in. We had to wait until after that wedding to go on our honeymoon. I'm definitely glad we waited. I do not think I could have came back from the wedding and then immediately left on our honeymoon. I liked having some time to kind of get my life back in order before traveling, but I don't think we needed a full month. I think 2 weeks would have been the perfect spot. After 2 weeks, I was kind of ready. I was like, all right, my life's back together. Let's go on our honeymoon. But then we did have that other wedding. So then we just waited a little bit longer after that because we were traveling for that one. We waited a month, but around the 2 week mark is probably when I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. How did you plan your honeymoon? I planned it with a mix of TikTok, Reddit, and just Google. AI, ChatGPT was helpful. I do it on a PowerPoint, and then I do like day 1, and then I put what we're gonna do, and then I put day 2, put what we're gonna do as a PowerPoint, and I do it slowly but surely, one city at a time. First thing I book is our stays, hotels, accommodations, and then I book flights after that. Reddit was very, very helpful. I will not lie. Very helpful for travel. I use the Japan travel subreddit a lot. I got a lot of very niche recommendations for restaurants, for activities from that subreddit rather than, you know, things that are like TikTok viral. Sometimes they become overdone or really busy. So I tried to find some more niche things using Reddit, but that was really where I got everything. How did you decide on the type of honeymoon? Honestly, Japan was Will's idea. He loves anime and it was kind of a dream trip for him. And at first, I won't lie, I was kind of like, Japan, I don't know. For our honeymoon, that's kind of not a normal honeymoon destination. When you think honeymoon, I think you think a little bit more relaxing. I kind of came around to the idea. I kind of got excited thinking that it was different, and I like that. I like something a little bit different. It was an unusual honeymoon destination, but I'm glad we did it. I think your honeymoon is a great excuse to take kind of like a trip of a lifetime. Some people probably feel the opposite. Some people probably want to go relax after all the wedding planning and lay on a resort. But for us, we were like, what's a better excuse than our honeymoon to kind of go on an adventure? So that's why we chose Japan. Did I have any surprises on the honeymoon in Japan? Honestly, I don't feel like anything was a crazy surprise because I did a lot of research before going to Japan. I wanted to be prepared. I did a ton of research. Some things that I kind of knew would be true, but was cool to see how punctual all the trains and buses are. It is really hard to be on time as a bus, and they were so on time. They said 12:06, they were there at 12:06. The toilets, really nice. Bidets everywhere, even in, you know, like the public gas stations, really nice toilets. No tipping. That was always really interesting. You always had really good service, but there was no tipping expected. There's not really a tipping culture there. I think the biggest actual surprise the first day was how quiet it was, especially on the trains, which is just very different from here in the States. You know, the subway, any of the metro systems throughout our different states and cities, people can be obnoxious on them, I would say. Whereas there, it was very, very quiet. I mean, it would be full, like you were squeezing in there and you could hear a pin drop. It was so quiet on the train. So we made sure to be very quiet, kind of follow along with what everyone else was doing. Did you have any challenges on the honeymoon? I would say we did have a few challenges navigating the big train system. I remember when we had to find our JR Express train, we couldn't find the station on the ticket. We were very confused with that. We were in a big station. I want to say we were in Shibuya station, maybe. It was a really big train station. We did get a little lost in that train station, but you can't really get too worked up about it. Like, you'll figure it out. We did have to ask for help, and the person who was helping us couldn't even figure it out. And then eventually I found it by Googling some stuff. So we did get lost that one time. That was kind of a struggle, but honestly, you can't get too worked up about it. You just got to figure it out. And then the other thing that was kind of annoying is a lot of places closed really early, and then Google Maps would say they were open, and we would go there and they would be closed. That was kind of a challenge. The hours listed on Google Maps were not necessarily accurate because places kind of just like opened and closed when they felt like it. Is there anything I would do differently on the honeymoon? Not that I can think of right now. I think it worked out great. I definitely had moments where I was really tired. Tokyo was a lot of walking. I feel like we spaced everything out really well. I mean, there was a few touristy things that we probably could have skipped. I don't think we needed to do the Imperial Palace or Shibuya Sky. We could have skipped those. We could have skipped our Uji walking tour. I think you could have done that on your own. We didn't need the tour. Maybe just doing too many activities and paying for too many activities that we could have skipped or we could have just done ourselves. But you live and you learn, you know. I don't really have any regrets with that. We still enjoyed them. We just didn't need to do them, I would say. Let's get into finances. I got a lot of questions on this. First question, are your finances 100% combined or do you have separate accounts? So for the time being, we did combine all of our money together. We just felt like that was the easiest start for us. And then we're just gonna see how it goes. And if we want to make a change, we will, and we will possibly have separate accounts in the future. But for now, we did go ahead and put everything in one pot. We have one pot where all the money comes in. We switched all our bills, all the bills, expenses, everything are coming out of that account. So right now we are just one account. We also did combine down to a shared credit card. So, you know, all expenses and everything are combined. It's been great so far. And we did that for the purposes of simplicity because I like to see everything where everything is. So this felt like the most simple way to have everything kind of in one spot. The only thing that we still can't figure out how to do, and is not our favorite part about having the finances all combined, is surprises and presents. We're trying to figure that out. Like, say Will wants to go buy me a bracelet or buy me something as a surprise, a gift, then I could just see it there on the credit card as soon as he goes and does it. So that's the only reason I think we would maybe open separate accounts and give each other, like, you know, $1,000 each for the year or something for presents. I don't know. That's the only thing we're trying to figure out. If you have fully 100% combined finances, let me know how you guys do like surprises, presents, birthday presents, stuff like that, because that's the only thing that we are struggling with. Besides that, So far, so good with the combined finances. It's been really great having it all in one spot. We can see it all, see how we're doing. I'm liking that part of it. Is a wedding that expensive? I guess it depends on what your definition of that expensive is. I feel like I can't really answer that. If you are a millionaire, then what I spent on my wedding is probably nothing to you. But I bet to some people how much we spent on the wedding is ridiculous and they'll think we're crazy. Whereas other people will say, yeah, that's about right. And then other people will say, wow, that's really cheap. Is a wedding that expensive? I guess that depends what you think is expensive. How did you manage your budget? So I started by tracking every wedding related transaction. I thought I was gonna do this big budget breakdown of the wedding at the end of the day, and then I just stopped tracking. If I'm being honest, I stopped wanting to know the nitty gritty. I still tracked my final invoices with my big vendors, so I know exactly how much I paid those big vendors, but I was having monthly wedding costs, buying all my little trinkets and decorations and DIYs and dresses, outfits, shoes, all that stuff. I started having a lot of little transactions and I started not wanting to see that anymore, just being totally transparent. So I kind of turned a blind eye to the absolute total expenditure of the wedding. And it became, instead of like the big wedding budget, I just started allocating some money every single month for wedding related purchases. So I was spending, you know, a few $100s a month basically on wedding things, whether it was decorations or clothes, or I bought perfume, makeup, that was all related to the wedding. So instead of putting that stuff into my big wedding budget, I just put it into our monthly budget and kept track of it that way. So yeah, on my sheet that I'm sharing, the timeline or the checklist, I will also have the budget on there, but I really just made sure to track my final invoices and quotes. That is how I knew how much the vendors and stuff were gonna cost. What percent of your budget did you allocate for tipping vendors? Honestly, you guys, I'm probably not the person to listen to when it comes to wedding budget, because like I said, I kind of stopped caring towards the end of it. I did not budget anything for tipping. I did it based on how I felt in the moment. I tipped our bartenders $50 each. We tipped our catering staff. We just gave them a lump sum to split. We tipped our DJ and I tipped our planner because I just felt like she really went above and beyond. Yeah, I didn't really have a percentage allocated in the budget. I just kind of tipped what felt right in the week in that moment. I also made sure to leave all of our vendors 5-star Google reviews. A lot of them told me, you know, that means just as much. I don't think they expect tips. So I definitely made sure to leave the good Google reviews as well. What were some unexpected costs? Postage. I didn't have anything for postage in the budget. That was expensive. I probably spent $150 to $200 on postage between thank you cards and our invitations. Day of meals for your vendors. Because I had second shooters for both photography and videography, I had more meals to pay for my vendors. I also had to feed the bartenders, which I wasn't expecting, which makes total sense. I'm not saying they shouldn't be fed. I just didn't think about it. So that was kind of unexpected. Extra rentals was kind of unexpected for me. We ended up having to do drapery because of our rain plan. Our rain plan would be moving the ceremony into the reception space. And if it rained, we had to have drapery to separate the room. So that was an unexpected cost for me. I didn't realize I'd have to rent drapery. That was unexpected and not cheap. And then one that I'm kind of dealing with now that's a bit of an unexpected expense is what you want to do with your wedding dress after the fact. So preserving my dress, I've gotten a quote, I think it was $600 to get the dress preserved. Definitely something I didn't really think about, but there is a lot of costs after your wedding too with getting your dress preserved. You want to preserve your bouquet. Do you want to buy a wedding photo album? Our wedding photo album was $165. So there are, you know, some other expenses that come up after the wedding. Tipping is one. So yeah, I would say those were unexpected costs. How much did your wedding cost? Does that include your bachelorette, rehearsal dinner, and etc.? Let's go into our disclaimers. I will say we had a ton of help from our family. So we did not pay for most of this out of pocket. We got much more help than I thought we were gonna be getting. We didn't really know how much help we were gonna be getting until almost the month before the wedding. So we were saving like our life depended on it. And then we got a lot more help than we thought we would. So we are very thankful for that. We did not wipe her life savings away. My original budget and how I came up with this number is because I Googled average cost of weddings in North Carolina, came up around $35,000. So that was kind of my goal in my mind, you know, $30,000 to $35,000 was kind of the goal. And I did want to have the traditional wedding. And when I think traditional wedding, I think catering at a venue, you know, those kinds of things. For what we got, I think our price was really good. Every wedding is different. This was our experience and what we chose to prioritize. Yours may be way different. You may think this is not worth it. You may think I should have spent more. It also is very dependent on where you're getting married and how many guests you are having. These prices will change substantially. We definitely splurged in some areas and saved in others. I'm just sharing for transparency purposes. If you are curious on how much a wedding costs, a traditional wedding, my biggest thing would be don't go into debt for a wedding. I don't think it's worth that. It's worth a lot, and I think I'm glad we did it, but I would not done this if I thought we would have had to go into debt for it. Like I said, I did not track every single thing. I guess technically I did. If I wanted to go back through our monthly budgets, I could probably add it all up. There's a lot of things on this budget that I have that are not filled out. Some examples. I do not know how much I ended up spending on my bridesmaids proposals, on our invitations. So I can't really tell you what the total cost of the wedding was since I stopped tracking those details. However, I will give you the cost of some of our vendors. Okay, I feel like I've given you enough disclaimers. Let's talk about how much things cost. My hair and makeup was $446.42. That does not include my tipping. I did tip them, and then I also paid for all of my girls to get eyelashes added on. I had hair and makeup was optional for them, but for those who chose to get their makeup done, I did pay for the lashes to be added, and I tipped for everybody. This also includes the travel fees. They did have, I think the travel fee was $100 to come to my venue. Our cake was $702. That was for a little cutting cake and over 100 cupcakes. And they delivered and set everything up. So all those fees and everything, $702. Videographer, I got an incredible deal on my videographer. My videographer was a really great childhood friend of mine who wanted to come in town to see her family, and all I had to do was pay for her plane ticket for her and her husband. So I paid $1,300 for my videographer. Really great deal. Videography is gonna run you $4,000 to $5,000 from other quotes that I got. So I definitely got a great deal on that. My planner, she was a 3-month planner. So she started around February. She took over all correspondence with my vendors, got my final timeline, helped me with my rentals. Really could not have done it without her. Was $2,781.25. Rentals, I had to rent my linens, my plates, my cups. I rented martini glasses for the bar, and then besides that, we just did plastic, the cups with our pets on them. I rented drapery. This includes the drapery. I believe that's everything. Our rentals cost $3,192.54. That includes delivery, setup, all of that for all of our plates, cups, glassware, linens, all that fun stuff. DJ and violin, we paid $3,300. This was for 6 hours. It included the ceremony, the reception, cocktail hour. It also included our violinist, and it also included our photo booth. So our DJ was one company, and they provided the DJ, all the speakers, the microphones for our ceremony, and then the violin and the photo booth. That all came from the same company, and it was $3,300. I felt like it was a good deal. I really did. I actually feel like I got some really good deals on a lot of this stuff. My photographer, another great deal to me. I highly suggest finding a photographer who's maybe newer. You still love their work, but they might be kind of newer into the photography game, which is what I did. She, you know, only had maybe 1,000 followers when I found her. And I think that's like a really good way to kind of get in with someone who's just starting. So our photographer was $4,025. We got 8 hours on the wedding day. 2 shooters. We also got an engagement session here in Charlotte. She drove to Charlotte. We had a bridal portrait session, a whole nother session, just photos of me in my wedding dress. And then she also covered 2 hours of our rehearsal dinner. So I felt like it was a great deal. We got 3 separate sessions plus our wedding day and a second shooter for about $4,000. Second largest expense was our catering. We spent $8,388.55. Great way to cut costs on catering is is to cut your guest count down. We did a buffet. I like buffets. I like the idea that you can get up and get more food if you need them. I think the food stays warmer, better, and I also like people kind of getting up and moving around. That's why we went with the buffet. And honestly, it was not cheaper than the plated meal for us. It was like, I think they were within $100 to do plated versus buffet. So this was just a preference. It included 2 past appetizers during the cocktail hour, our buffet with a salad, 2 mains. We had a chicken and a chef station where they carved the steak, mashed potatoes, green beans, bread, and then they do like water and tea. I think that was everything for catering. And our biggest expense was the venue, which also included our bar. So the venue cost was $8,000. This included tables, chairs, access to the venue from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. We had a bridal suite, a groom suite, really everything that you would have in a standard venue, I would say, is what we had. Like I said, tables, chairs, that's really important because if they didn't have tables and chairs, I would have had to have rented those. So I'm glad they had those. And yeah, full access to the property, parking for everybody. And then our bar was around $3,000. This was for an open bar, 5 hours from cocktail hour all the way to the end of the night. Open bar was very important to me. I mean, we met at a bar. We like our cocktails. So open bar, 3,000 bucks. All in all, what we paid the venue with service fees, taxes, all those good additions was $12,623.53. So all of those vendors added up was $36,759.82. I kind of can't believe I'm sharing that. Sometimes I share way too much, but you know, like I said, these are just our biggest vendors. It doesn't include all of the little expenses, my dress, tuxes, rings, all that good stuff. So I'm sure you can imagine really what we ended up spending, but this was just for the basics of the wedding day, all the vendors that we needed to make our day happen. Would I do it again? I would not, but I am so glad we did it. I feel like that's the best way for me to summarize the wedding, and I'm just trying to be real. It was very stressful planning the whole thing, and it's tough, it's hard, but then you walk away with these most magical memories, the best pictures, best videos, the most special day. It was so worth it, even though it was expensive and hard. I'm so glad we did it, and we had such a special day with our friends, our family. And I just felt like this was the perfect way to wrap up the wedding series. We went through quite the roller coaster throughout wedding planning. If you watched my series, you know, but it really is all worth it in the end. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you appreciate my transparency. I get a little bit scared sharing the big numbers out here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you so very soon in my next video. Bye guys.